Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I am going to give everybody just a few minutes to come into the room as the notification goes out. And as y'all come into the room, definitely make sure you are letting me know that you are coming into the room. I'm gonna talk about a few different things tonight. Hey Helena. Hey Rhaegar. Hey Latoria. Hey Edward. Hey Joe Good. Hey y'all. So hopefully everybody is doing well. I see people slowly coming into the room. Hey T's Corner Store. So welcome. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Hopefully everyone is doing well, and thank y'all for joining me tonight. Hey Darrell. And I recently posted a video yesterday where I was in Richmond, Virginia for the Black Lives Matter 757 2A rally. And so if you've not yet saw that video, definitely make sure you go ahead and check that out. And I am going to actually talk about it a little bit tonight. Hey, Political Pug. Before I start talking about that, I would like to start by thanking my patrons so much who support my content. Thank you guys. A special thanks to my VIP patrons, Michael Ray and Ray Ray. I really appreciate you guys' support. If you would like to support my content and see more of the content, particularly like the video that I just posted yesterday from Richmond, Virginia, then you should definitely subscribe to my Patreon. Helena J is dropping that link in the chat, and it is also down below in the description box. And so, yes, thank you. Special shout out to my patrons. So, like I said, if you haven't seen that video, you definitely want to make sure you check that out. I got a chance to not only speak, but talk and to engage with some people that were down in Richmond, Virginia. I would like to say that the people in Richmond, Virginia have been super hospitable every time I've gone there. I think that's my second time going there this year, maybe even third time. And I got a chance to shoot with, he goes by Silverback. His YouTube page is Gorillas and Guns. So I want to thank him for inviting me and Dev from Trunchwork Chronicles over there to do some shooting at his property while we were down there in Richmond, VA. And then I got to meet some really interesting people at the actual rally. Hey BMT, hey Grace. But I got to meet some really cool people out there. I got to meet some of my actual supporters out there. Like, thought that was so cool. I still haven't gotten over there yet. I don't think I ever will. Like, I'm super humbled by that. And I, see that I'm not only connecting with people, but the message is getting out. And so that, like, means a lot to me for the people that did come out to support on my behalf. But it went really well. It was raining all day that day. Like, it was raining that morning. It was super crazy. I'm talking about raining cats and dogs. And I'm like, oh no, I came to Virginia and I'm not even gonna be able to do the rally because it's raining so bad. But by the time, like a little bit after we got there, the rain held off for like the rest of the time we were out there. It was like super like weird and convenient. And so it was super interesting. If you watch the video, I talk about how I was even surprised that I was invited, honestly, because when I was told I was invited, I was like, are you sure? Have they seen my content? Like, like this Rhonda. You know what I mean? So I was a little taken aback by it. But speaking with the guy that's leading the local organization there, seeing the other speakers that were there, it was a super, when I say diverse crowd in thought, in politics, in culture. It was a pretty, diverse group of people, but everybody there were 2A advocates. And so it was really interesting. I've told y'all about how I don't particularly like how the Black Lives Matter organization has been projected in the mainstream media. I feel like there have been a lot of half truths as it has come to the organization, whether we're talking about peaceful, non-peaceful, whether we're talking about just a bunch of things, right? And so, however, I know a lot of us are, smart enough to know that you just can't call the news fake news when it's talking about the people that you don't like or whatever the case may be. And so a lot of things are hidden, and rightfully so. And, well, not rightfully so, but we know that there's a reason, right? That they do this. Even the history of Black people being armed in this country, and the history of things like gun control legislation and stuff like that is not often talked about when we look at it. And compare it to some of the things we see going on right now. So I was happy to be a part for that. I thank Jafari in Richmond, Virginia for inviting me out, and all of the people that I met. But it was super interesting. And I think why I wanted to participate in that is because I think it's important to, remind people that, and I've already said this, I told people that the Black Lives Matter narrative was going to get swept away, right? I told people that particularly with voices like that, you have somebody that comes out, they're basically calling for unity, they're calling for peaceful protest, they're even calling for Black people to arm themselves. They're actually working with not just one type of group of politicians. They're working with politicians across the political spectrum to get things done out there in that area. And so, yeah, it's just really interesting. So if you've not seen that video, make sure you go ahead and check that out. All right, y'all. So before we get into tonight's discussion, I do want to show you guys, I do have a new t-shirt that is available. I now have a Shopify. This link is also in my description box below. And so I've just added my anti-status shirt to my Shopify. This shirt comes in black and white, and it just has on here, you can see, oh, look at me. I thought I was doing some. Anyway, an advocate of freedom, skeptic of government, anti-bootlicker. So get with it, get into it. Okay, that shirt is available on my Shopify. And you guys can support by purchasing one of those. All right, so let's go ahead and yes, Helena, you do. And hey to everybody just coming into the room. And no, my hair is not cut. I actually have some faux locks in, but it's up in a bun. So no, I did not cut my hair. But all right, y'all. So I have to start off by talking about this because I posted this on Instagram the other day, and I said I would talk about this. And if you are not following me on Instagram. You should definitely be following me on Instagram at RhondaMary Vids, but particularly you should probably be following me on Twitter because that's where I talk the most of my talk, okay, is over there on Twitter, But I did post this article, and let me share that with you guys. Oh, here it comes. Levon gonna always find his way in here starting stuff. Some this is my down payment for my shirt. Thank you, Jupiter Black. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Okay. So, posted this. I had to mention this. Just in case y'all didn't know, I thought this was super telling. So CNN posted this the other day. I don't know if this is still available on CNN. I kind of briefly looked and didn't see it. CNN is very notorious for coming back and changing their headlines or trying to make the articles that they already posted look different. I've talked about this before. I've shown you guys the proof of this, okay? But this is CNN. COVID-19 vaccine trials have been slow to recruit Black and Latino people, and that could delay a vaccine. Oh, Lordy. The multi-billion-dollar effort to get a coronavirus vaccine on the market could see delays because researchers haven't recruited sufficient numbers of minorities to join the clinical trials. Of the 350,000 people who registered online for a coronavirus clinical trial, 10% are Black or Latino. Okay, executive directors of operations for the COVID-19 Prevention Network. That's not nearly enough. Study subjects and trials are supposed to reflect the population that's affected. Research shows that more than half of U.S. coronavirus cases have been among Black and Latina people. Now, a couple reasons, okay, why I think this is funny is because somebody's lying. Something's not adding up. The math is not mathing, right? The virus is so bad. Black people are being overrepresented in the virus. Everybody wants Black people to be represented in healthcare. However, now that we are doing clinical trials to actually protect people, right, from this virus, now you have people not showing up to do the trials. It's not adding up to me. The fear is not translating. This furthers my belief that people pick and choose when they want to fear this virus. The virus is super scary at the church, but not scary at the grocery store. I just as people have been hiding under their couches, hiding in their homes, you don't want to send your kids back to schools. Why, if it's that bad, right? Because it is, or is it that bad? Why isn't that being reflected in the numbers? I just, like somebody not telling the truth. I literally talked about how a mayor or governor, I think it was the mayor, literally saying, if you have a gathering, we will come to your house and turn off your electricity. We will turn off your water, right? That's how serious this is. For some reason, for me to say that that is an overreach, that's an overstep, that is too much, is a problem. However, the same people that were giving me grief, accused me of trying to kill people's grandmas, even though I haven't seen mine in weeks. The same people that said I was trying to use Black people as guinea pigs for a drug that's been on the market for over 50 years. Now y'all know where to be found. You not lining up and you not sending your family for the vaccinations. I just want a little consistency. See, with me, I have taken a consistent position from the very beginning. Even when they first came out and said, oh my God, the virus is killing more Black people than any other people. You literally had all these Black actors, athletes doing these press conferences, sitting at their computer with their significant others rubbing on their backs and whatnot. From the very beginning, I was like, I don't know. It's kind of seeming a little bit like a campaign to me at this point. And so these people had the nerve to say in the article, basically like, man, we ain't finna waste all this money. If we can't get Black people to come out in droves to do the vaccinations, man, we might have to try this again another time. Like it's no hidden agenda. Like they're just honest with you. They just, yeah, like minorities, come on in here and let us test these new, never been tried vaccinations on you. But let me see if I can find it, because I actually saw this a couple weeks ago. And this is what I think is about to happen. Let me see if it's even still online. So I don't see it by a simple Google search, but I have it saved somewhere, I think. But so let me just tell y'all, they took a poll. This was like a couple of weeks ago. They took a poll and they literally asked people, if Oprah asked you, I know they named Oprah. I can't remember exactly who they named, but there were people like Oprah, I think The Rock, Beyonce, just all these, high profile celebrities. They were like, if such and such came out and said they took the vaccination, would you be more likely or less likely to take it? Just they're showing you, they literally sat there and asked you, if we try to program you with a celebrity, would you listen? Do you think it'll work? Like, they're so open and honest with it. And this is why I'm so big on this whole entertainers are not leaders thing, because I'm telling y'all, if they drop a bag off at Oprah's door and they say, we want you to do this 30-second commercial telling people to go get the coronavirus vaccine, what you think is going to happen? Like, let's just be honest here. So I don't know what's going to happen with these vaccinations, but I do think we're going to see in a couple of weeks. But I promise y'all, I think you're going to get ready to, and this is just a hypothesis. If I am wrong, I will come back and clarify, modify, whatever in a couple of weeks. But as of today, my hypothesis is in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see people like BLM. You're going to see people like NAACP. You're going to see people like the Black Caucus. You're going to see people like Angela Rye. You're going to see people like Beyonce, Tyler Perry. You're going to see these people coming out saying, with these similar, just like they were doing these campaigns, oh, I got COVID. You're going to see them coming out saying, this is so important. This is so important for our health. If you want your life to go back to normal, we got to take the vaccinations. I took one and look at me, I'm fine. And I'll probably be, I don't know. I've always found it so weird that people dance in like medicine, pharmacy commercials and stuff like that, right? But yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So they're telling y'all, they're not hiding it. It's not super plastered in your face. But yeah, that's going to be the next step. They got to get y'all on board to take these vaccinations. Y'all don't think they shut the world down for nothing, do you? You don't think they shut down the economy for nothing and put all these millions of dollars into these lockdown efforts? They got to recoup something, and it's going to be your compliance. And so we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. But I think it's super interesting. So, Alina J said, how about they promote a healthy lifestyle? I mean, hello. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That won't happen. Now you're threatening big pharma. And that's one thing. We talking bipartisan when we talking big pharma. Same people signing, checking off on their legislation. So they're not gonna threaten their money like that at all. And they put so much stock into these vaccines, and then you got Bill Gates running around doing whatever he's doing. Man, please. Levon said, one might ask, does the vaccine have the hydrochloric or is it something else they want to put in us? I honestly have no clue. It's so much stuff that goes into these vaccines. I really don't know. I haven't done super research into the actual makeup or anything of the vaccinations, just off the simple strength that I'm not going to take one anyway. So it doesn't particularly interest me to that degree. But I just find it funny that I just kind of watch the social media sphere and how they're even the shade room is so funny because I just want to know what people are saying, right? And so I looked at two different posts that the shade room post. One was something, I can't remember what it was. It was like people hanging out and maybe not wearing masks or something like that. And people were literally losing their minds, saying, how bad this was, how everybody needs to stay in the house. The pandemic is not over. Just stay home. Don't send your kids to school. Basically, don't live life, right? That was kind of like the theme. But then maybe like 2 weeks later, I see a post about y'all know this story that came out that people were like, the government can basically force you to vaccinate. Comments totally different. Now all of a sudden it's y'all really are trying to start war. All of us gonna be in jail. This, that, and the other. People were very adamant, like against it. So I'm like, like, I guess the confusing part to me, I'm trying to understand is if you are the person that is, anti-vaccination, but you're also the person that says we need to wait in the house forever to 2022 until we know more. I guess I don't understand the direction, like the plan. Like, what are you like? You really actually think people can just stay in the house forever? I don't know. It's confusing, but it is social media, so stuff really makes sense here. Boss Brooks, thank you for the super chat. He said, watch them threaten parents to remove their kids if they don't get vaccinated. They'll go that far. I absolutely 100% think this is going to be added to the vaccination list for public school children. Yes, you're absolutely, that is coming. So just prepare yourselves. You may have some states that may not bite. I can't remember if it was, I want to say South Dakota, that didn't really do any lockdowns. And so you may have some states that won't, but I think you're going to have several that are definitely, absolutely going to add that to the vaccination list for the kids to go back to school. But all right, y'all. So let's talk about how your girl Cardi B went from WAP to interviewing a presidential candidate. All right, let's start with watching a little bit of this. Just so if you guys haven't seen this, you can kind of get a little idea.
Oh, I, of course, want free Medicare. And this is why it's important to have free Medicare, because look what's happening right now. We should have free Medicare for a long time. I, of course, think that we need a free college education. That's second. And I want Black people to stop getting killed. And no justice for it. I'm tired of it. I just want more stricter laws that is fair to Black citizens. And, it's fair for cops too. If you kill somebody that doesn't have a weapon on them, you go to jail. You know what? If I kill somebody, I got to go to jail. You got to go to jail too. That's all I want.
So it was if I remember correctly, I think maybe close to 15-minute interview that she did there with Joe Biden. She did that through Elle Magazine, got her in touch and hooked her up with Joe Biden to do, I can't even call it an interview. I don't really even know what I can refer to it is. If you actually go watch it, she did most of the talking. You could see that there was a lot of editing and cutting that was going on, so it wasn't really free flowing. There were moments where she was talking for minutes at a time, and he just kind of was like looking. And even the concerns that you could see that she brought up there, right? I think she said, Medicare, healthcare, free education, and police brutality were the main three things that she addressed. During this. It's so funny. It's not funny. It's disheartening. But it's so interesting that if you actually go watch the interview, this man didn't address directly anything she said. And why it's so funny is because it is the exact thing that so many people have been saying about the DNC recently here. It's the perfect representation of that. Like perfect representation of that, right? People say, we want to see legislation that holds police officers accountable when they abuse their power, right? Or they basically, abuse their power. That changed to, we wrote your freaking organization's name on the street, right? every single time she will say something, he will be like, yeah, I get it. That's why it's important we really want to make sure that people your age, the 18, 24, I think he said 18 to 24, he said if those people come out and vote in the same numbers that you did back in, I think he said the 2016 election, then, we can win and this, that, and the other. It's a reason why. It's a reason why right before, and it's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's a reason why right before the Democratic National Convention, this is a super important time, right? Super important time. We're getting closer to the election. All the people you can interview with, all the political commentators, all of the people that engage in politics for a career, right? These people are laser focused. They understand policy. They understand what people are even asking of these politicians. And you choose to do a 15-minute interview with WAP Cardi B. Make it make sense. You know what? It does make sense, right? Because it's a numbers game. And he was and they don't even hide it. If you actually listen, they tell you straight up. He doesn't say, this is how I want to address this. This is what I think about this. At no point in the interview, however, he does say, well, if you can get your millions of followers, he doesn't say this directly, but it's implied. If you can get your million of young followers, if you can influence them to come out and vote, I can win. And I don't even have to sit here and pretend or act like I'm going to address your issues. I don't even have to. I mean, at this point, it's super annoying to me, but these people are being so honest. What more can you ask for? Joe Biden has went on a record several times saying, yeah, I did the crime bill. So what? Like, and other legislation that he's done in the past, and he's proud of it. Like, my mind is blown, y'all. It's like we are living in nothing is making sense. Nothing is making sense. Nothing is consistent. None of this makes sense. Like, is it okay for me to just say that in the height of Black Lives Matter protests, in the height of police brutality protests, you literally have a presidential candidate that goes on a record and says, yes, I did the crime bill. Yes, my name is on it. Apologize for what? These people don't even pretend anymore. That is crazy. And the fact that they know that they can get away with this with so many people. I mean, I'm like blown. And honestly, I think people like Cardi B, I really think you have a lot of celebrities. I'll put it this way. I think you have a lot of celebrities that are grifters, and they'll do whatever for political points. They'll do whatever to posture. They'll do whatever for, some pats on the back or a White House, media press or whatever, right? However, I do think, honestly, you do have people like Cardi B who say, I have this large platform, what can I do to help? How can I use my voice? And then you have a DNC that just use her like freaking bait. They're like, man, she got all these young people. A bigger part of her following are Black people. And there you go. Let's see if she'll do a quick interview and post it to her millions of followers. I mean, at this point, it's a little insulting. It's a little insulting. And I did a video, this was like months ago, I think, where I think it was Hillary Clinton, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. But it was Hillary Clinton, I believe, that went on record saying that we should consider dropping the voting age, right? And now when somebody says that, now I can look kind of like, I see what's happening here. Grace said Cardi didn't even mention her own community of Hispanics. I don't trust it. That's a good point. That is a super good point, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that we know that a person like Cardi B has bigger influence on the Black community? Does that mean that the Democrats may feel like the Black vote is slipping away, so this is a quick way to sew it up? Does it mean, what does it mean? So, you know, but I mean, that interview just, I keep saying interview. I want to find, maybe I should use the word like discussion. It was more of a discussion, right? Because, you know, they particularly got with her because they know Cardi B, just like what happened in that interview, is going to tell you, oh, these are the things I want to see. And then when you don't address her, unlike a journalist, unlike an actual journalist, unlike an actual activist, unlike an actual political commentator who's going to press you on those issues, they're going to ask direct questions. They're going to ask follow-up questions. You have Cardi B that once he doesn't answer, kind of says something weird, you know, she laughs it off, kind of makes a joke, whatever, they are able to move on to the next subject. So, but yeah, you're gonna see a lot more of that going into the election. So now let's talk about the DNC highlights. How many of y'all watched? If you watched the DNC convention last night, press 1. If you did not watch, give me a 2 in the chat. If you did watch the Democratic National Convention last night, press 1. If you did not watch, press 2. Helena said 1 and 2. I'm kind of like 1 and 2 too. Lockbird watched. Everybody else saying they didn't watch. Bruce the Boss Brooks said Nancy Pelosi wanting to lower the voting age to 16. Okay, maybe that was Nancy Pelosi, y'all. I said Hillary Clinton. So he said, but a recent video of Kamala insulting 18 to 24-year-olds is stupid, would kill that support. I don't think it would. I don't think it would kill that support. Like, I think we're at a point where politicians have proven that they can go on a record, and not just even Kamala and Joe Biden, but even Trump. They've proven that they can go on a record and say anything, and you have sycophants that will try to that will try to talk it away, spin it, excuse it, whatever the case may be. I don't care, how I see you as a person, how much I like or do not like you. If you say something offensive, if you say something wrong, if you say something untrue, that's just what it is. It doesn't change by, who you are not. And I think that we are in a culture that people are so ready. People are already talking. This is so weird. People are already talking about Kamala Harris being president in 2024. I'm like, can we please get through 2020 right now? Like, seriously, can we get through 2020? This is stressful enough. So most of y'all did not watch. So I watched a little bit. I watched here and there. I caught a lot of the clips on Twitter after the fact. I tried to watch. I was like very bored. Out of my mind. I just, I'm only able to, my brain is only able to take in so much when it's not very, like, you're not saying something very direct and to the point. And so what I saw was a lot of literally and figuratively, right? From the acts on stage to even how a lot of people were even just talking. It's just it's like, what are you saying? Just a lot of platitudes, just a lot of, posturing and pandering. And that just these days just puts me to sleep. I just don't have the attention span for it. So first of all, let's start with this lady that I thought, I'm like, really? You trying to shut me down? What's up?
In bondage. A few blocks from here, over at Gaston's Wall.
All right, let's start here. You have James Clyburn here. Let me make sure I'm sharing with y'all. And this is just part of his speech.
Good evening. I'm Congressman Jim Clyburn. Here is Stark. Good evening. I'm Congressman Jim Clyburn. Here in historic Tulsa, South Carolina. 6 months ago, I stood not far from here and endorsed Joe Biden to be our 46th president. It was a decision I made with my feet firmly planted in this community. This community, where 80% of African Americans in this country can claim an ancestor who arrived on these shows in bondage. A few blocks from here, over at Gaston's Wharf. This community that is still healing from the wounds we received in the white supremacists entered Emmanuel AME Church and murdered 9 black parishioners as they studied the Bible together. The ground beneath.
Okay, that's about as much as I could take. So we started here, like, and so I'm about 60 seconds into your speech, and I'm wondering why. See, this is where my mind goes, and this is exactly why it's hard for me to watch stuff, because I'm like kind of, like, get to the point. What are you trying to say, right? So you go on to talk about this shooting that happened in 2015 in this church. First of all, let's start with the fact that that happened under Obama's watch, right? But then you're talking about this shooting, and it's clear to me that you are only trying to evoke emotions because you don't offer any solutions, right? In most of these cities, not only do you have all this gun legislation, but even Black people in general are very heavily discouraged from having firearms. I've talked about this because I was one of those people. Even how the media discusses it. And so now here you have somebody that I'm almost 99.999% sure supports more gun control. So what are you even saying? What are you even suggesting? It's just a whole bunch of like words and speech and posturing just put together. And I'm kind of like, you saying all this, but like, to what resolve? So when I start seeing stuff like this, my brain starts going elsewhere because you're not giving me anything to think on. You're not saying anything new. You aren't presenting anything. You aren't presenting any solutions. Nobody is still even talking about what Joe Biden, I asked this on Twitter, still nobody has told me what exactly is his main platform that he's running on. You had Obama that ran on healthcare. You had Trump that ran on immigration reform. To this day, I still don't know what's Joe Biden's key, like, this, I'm going to get in office and do this. I have no clue. To this point. And then you have this young lady. Let's see if it'll let me play it now. Okay, it's showing y'all. You have this young lady.
He had faith in Donald Trump. I'm one of the many who has lost a loved one to COVID. My dad, Mark Anthony Urquiza, should be here today, but he isn't. He had faith in Donald Trump. He voted for him, listened to him, believed him and his mouthpieces when they said that coronavirus was under control and going to disappear, that it was okay to end social distancing rules before it was safe, and that if you had no underlying health conditions, you'd probably be fine. So in late May, after the stay-at-home order was lifted in Arizona, my dad went to a karaoke bar with his friends. A few weeks later, he was put on a ventilator. And after 5 agonizing days, he died alone in the ICU.
You out here grifting on your dad. Like, may he rest in peace. You know. But you literally out here grifting off the death of your father. So a couple of things, right? Because Helena J just mentioned the ventilator killed her dad. This was one of the main things. This is something that I talked to y'all about very, very, very early on, okay? I've heard this from nurses' mouths working in the ER. There have also been reports to suggest that the ventilators were in fact killing people. However, I'm going to give people a little bit of room because to this day, you still don't, the media is so funny because they were pushing super hard for ventilators. You were pushing super hard for ventilators, calling for ventilators. We don't have enough ventilators. Trump won't get us ventilators. You get the freaking ventilators, come to find out they were killing people. You don't even know. We want you to come retract this story. We want you to make it known at the same rate you were begging for ventilators and how it was such a big story. We want you to now come back and retract and say we made a mistake with these ventilators. Is that going to happen? No, it never happens, okay? But a lot of people to this day, for whatever reason, because of your fake news media, because they are invested in deceiving you guys, a lot of people still don't know this. So I'll cut her a little slack on them, putting the dad on the ventilator. However, something that everybody has known, I think as a matter of fact, just talked about this last week, something everybody that has known from the beginning of this virus, something that has been extremely consistent. Okay, this is not even a bipartisan issue, because this is not even a partisan issue, because this is just as consistent as it is here in China or anywhere else. We have all known that age and being overweight were two factors for getting this virus. You skip right over your mayor and your governor. You're staying in Arizona. You don't mention, and I don't even know who the governor is off the top of my head, right? But you don't even mention your governor. You skip right over the governor, and you jump right to Trump. And I get it. Okay, yes, I do think there are some things that could have went much better with this virus and things like that. I've talked about, from the WHO to just a lot of other things, right? However, like at what point do people take any level of responsibility for themselves? At what point does a person say, I made the decision to go to the bar to have a drink in the middle of a pandemic? Like, as a person sitting here telling you guys that no, like, I don't think you can social distance on a plane. No, I think if they're going to cancel certain events, they should cancel all events. No, I don't think your mayor should show up to your home to cut off your electricity and your water because you're having a gathering. However, I will still sit up here and tell y'all I have not seen my grandma in weeks because I've been traveling. Like, at some point, people have to use their own freaking brains. Like, at what point does this kick in? The idea that the government is y'all parents, supervisors, masters. Like, at what point do you take any responsibility for the decisions that you made? Even like when we're talking about Herman Cain, I said this. I would be mad to find out my grandma went to any type of event like that at this time. Like, you have underlying conditions. You are in the age bracket. And so that's why I was very adamant about from the very beginning. I've been very consistent. The measures that people are taking should be based on, it's going to come down to a lot of things, from if you are in certain demographics. It's going to come down to what the numbers are looking like for your actual city. It's going to come down to your actual lifestyle. And several things. And so that's why I was saying, to think there's just this one answer that fits all. That's why I was very adamant about, no, the answer for Kentucky might not look for the answer for New York. It's a very delicate case-by-case thing. I am still traveling. I would not dare call my grandma and be like, hey, jump on a plane with me to Miami this weekend. I would not dare call my grandma and be like, hey, let's go have a drink at the bar. My grandma doesn't drink, so let me make that obvious. I don't need to be getting no phone calls tonight. It was an example. Okay. But you know, like I just, people are going to have some type of responsibility for the decisions they are making. I wanted to get out yesterday. I wanted to get out of the house. I went to a restaurant that hardly anybody, like nobody was in there. It was only servers. And I asked the lady, I was like, can I sit in here and eat? I like want to sit in here and eat. And that's what I did. And how do I look 2 weeks later being like, oh, I can't believe my mayor then opened up the restaurant. So is nobody in a restaurant right now with a gun up to their head. Nobody at a bar with a gun up to their head. These people are making these decisions. So, you know, the grifting continues. And then you have the George Floyd family members coming up there. I think it was 2 family members. You have them taking a moment of silence. You have them taking a moment of silence at the Democratic National Convention. Now, what I find super interesting about that is that since, you know, you're at the Democratic Convention, or they teleporting, but whatever. But I'm thinking, you know, you speaking on the behalf of the Democratic Convention, are you linking up with the Democratic mayor and the Democratic governor of Minnesota? I think it's Minnesota, right? Where George Floyd was killed. Are you linking up with them just as adamantly because you have access to them now, right? Like if the Democratic Convention invites you out to speak and the people are networking and working together and on the same team, obviously you can work with them to tell them your legislation concerns. That just makes sense to me. You know, since you're there and all, and you're going to let them grift and parade you around. So I'm thinking if they can have you there to show and evoke emotion, they can also talk and get something in the works of what they can actually do so things like this don't happen anymore. I mean, that just kind of makes sense to me. I don't know at what point these victims, and I call them victims too, because you know when something like that happens to a family member, you are. But I don't know at what point people are gonna get tired of being paraded around for politicians' political gain. That is just, I don't know what they offer these people. I don't know what they tell them. I don't know if it's like an ego thing. I don't know if it's to make you feel special. I don't know if you feel more seen. I don't know if you feel like your story is getting out more. I don't know what it is that they do or tell these people to allow them to be paraded around, to allow the continuous photo ops. You know, I don't, you know, like even to think that a lot of these people do these meetings and be like, okay, you know, let's talk about your family member that was killed. And then do you say at the end of the meeting, oh yeah, let's get this picture. Like, I mean, so I just don't get it, because at some point, right? At some point, we, you know, a lot of people want to deny the local the effect of local politicians on a lot of these outcomes. Why so many people want to deny that, I don't know. But when you have a city and a state where George Floyd was killed that are led by the same people that are at the Democratic National Convention, they're literally the same people. It starts to seem like an internal issue at some point. So I don't know. It's just weird. And then you had, thank you, MC 007. Thank you for the super chat. And then you had the key speaker of the night, Michelle Obama, that comes through. I do not have her speech on hand for you guys because honestly, if you heard any of her speeches, you probably heard them all. She didn't say anything particular last night that stood out to me at all, other than the fact that she mentioned something of Trump is something about he's something, but he's not the right one for us or something. And he's shown us that. And whatever that little saying she said, kind of I wouldn't even say it just went viral, but I did see quite a few people talking about that. That's about the only thing I even remember. It was a pre-recorded speech, so she didn't even mention, according to them, right? It was a pre-recorded speech, so she didn't even mention Kamala Harris in any shape or form within the speech. But yeah, it just, her speech felt like one big long run-on of pandering, one big long run-on sentence of platitudes, right? It just felt like one big long run-on sentence of just a lot of platitudes. Michelle Obama is, I think, a great, speaker in general, right? Like she does this, thing. And some people are totally into that. That motivates some people. I don't know, that it's kind of like a feel good type vibe. And some people are still on a feel good wave, and I'm just not. Like it doesn't just do anything for me. So last night, particularly finding anything as far as what they actually hope to do going forward, it just wasn't much of that, other than those very packaged bullet points that we're pretty much used to hearing. So as far as something new or very distinct or very descriptive, that's not what was happening last night. And last but not least, the biggest highlight of the night, the person that stole the show, the person that had people talking the most. man. I don't know. I don't know how much y'all can actually take of this. Like, I don't know. But when I saw this, I initially thought, because I did not watch to the end, and so I ended up seeing this on Twitter at a later time. I thought this was a parody. I thought it was a skit. I thought it was supposed to be funny, just to turn around and find out. However, yes, they put this man on the Democratic National Convention stage, virtual stage, in front of tons of people. He had on a pantsuit / dressy, maybe a pantsuit with a train type deal, and was flaring it around. And then you had this guy playing a guitar, which is supposedly also some famous person that I don't know. So, I've said time and time again how I believe it is very intentional how the DNC continues to try to highlight highlight Black people, right? Black men in general. And if you guys have noticed, I even did a story about this. It was in a local district where you had some type of dinner or some type of event where they were talking about, they were there to address homelessness for the actual city, but during the entertainment you had a trans dancer come in that was just very sexually overt and things like this. And granted, Billy Porter is not nearly even at that level of, I don't think this is particularly sexually overt or salacious or anything like that. However, I do believe that they are very intentional with who they put on stage and the message that they are trying to send. I recently talked about, I think it was interesting that he showed these Black Lives Matter images in the background, because I talked about recently how you had this movement on Twitter, Black Trans Lives Matter too, and you had people very heavily involved in the National Black Lives Matter organization coming out and saying, oh yeah, this organization was always about LGBT rights anyway. We just kind of, they literally said this. She didn't say it in these exact words, but this is practically what she said on television. Yeah, this was always about LGBT Black rights. We were kind of just doing the whole police brutality thing for fun. You know what I'm saying? And so when you kind of start to see these things and put them together, you start to wonder, what exactly are they saying and what message are they sending? So I think this was a super interesting choice for the entertainment. And I think they tell us a lot without saying, I think they tell us a lot without saying it always directly. I am of the belief that oftentimes politicians only want to talk about black men if they are black men in a dress or they are black men in the grave. I truly believe that. You can see it for yourself. If you can show me on tape how many times a politician has ever said the words black men compared to how many times they've said black women or women of color, then you can prove me wrong. But otherwise, I feel like they have shown that mostly they're expendable, unless, they fall into those two modes. And I think that it's unfortunate, it's disturbing, and honestly, him, whether people want to admit it or not, him performing is very on brand for the national Black Lives Matter message, because even on their website, they tell you they are for queer people, women, and non-nuclear families. It says it right on the website. So when you start to put all these things together and you start to notice, and it makes sense, and now you start having to act like, what are we really talking about here? What are we really talking about? And so, I've been very adamant about how I feel about the overall national organization. I have not held back on my opinions about that. That doesn't change the fact that, yes, I did participate in a 2A rally recently that was held by a local chapter. But even me interviewing the young man Jafari on screen, he even tells you, like, the media comes here, they barely talk about what we're doing. When they do, they switch our message. He talks about how there are other local chapters that feel the same way about the national organization and how they don't speak out. And even that particular rally that I was at was not promoted or supported by the national organization. And so, yes, there is this conflict. It becomes a conflict of interest. And, at some point it becomes very confusing. It can become very confusing to people. And this is why something I told y'all a long time ago. This is one of the main reasons I don't particularly just join groups, organizations, and all these other things, because once you go mainstream, you will be co-opted. You will. It is a 99.99999% chance that you will be co-opted, whether this becomes politicians using you like they're currently doing by parading George Floyd's family around without any real-time solutions, right? But your message will be hijacked. You will be co-opted. The mainstream media is going to highlight the worst of the organization or people that represent that organization, and so on and so forth. We always have to be very keen and attentive to anything that the media is fully backing or on board, or not even sometimes even fully backing and on board, but anything they're talking about a lot, you have to start wondering and paying more attention, like, okay, what's really going on here? And then that's when you have to use your brain and start to decipher, because it's nuance. And I can sit here and say, yeah, like, the national organization, yeah, I'm not rocking with that. I'm not a part of that. I don't deal in that, but that doesn't also stop me from saying I met a guy out here in Virginia, and he is using that local chapter as a vehicle to support other things to make sure Black Lives Matter in all aspects in that area. And so people have to make their own judgment calls about, what they're supporting and not supporting, but it's a lot of fake news and a lot of half truths, and things like that. And so getting back to the Democratic National Convention from last night, overall, I think my thoughts were, it just, I wasn't moved. I wasn't particularly inspired by that. But y'all know I'm just that type of person anyway. If you are the type of person that's moved by symbolism, moved by representation, and you don't necessarily need, solutions. You don't need to know direction. You don't need, these other things. You may have felt very, I see myself. I see myself on the stage, because some people are like that. Like, and it is what it is. I can't take it from you. But it's just not who I am. So that was some of the key moments that stuck out to me. We're going to be talking about this. I'm honestly the most person I'm looking forward to speaking is Joe Biden, because I want to see what exactly he's going to say, what his speech is going to be like, how engaging and attentive he is going to be, if the speech is going to be chopped and cut up. I'm looking forward to Kamala Harris too. I want to see. I've seen her on a debate stage. I've seen her, with her viral moments, like I think who she was going off on, Kavanaugh or somebody. I've seen all that, so I'm really interested to see her. I don't think I've ever watched like a full, just a speech of her. Like, I've seen interviews and stuff like that, so it's interesting. I'm gonna see. I'm looking forward to seeing what she actually has to say too. So, but it's getting interesting. It's heating up, y'all. Hopefully, we will make it smoothly into November, because they're going to be throwing anything and everything at you as we go into the elections. And so, again, I want to thank everybody for rocking with me on these Tuesday nights. If you're not a patron and would like to support my content, Helena has been dropping that link in the chat, and it is in the description box below. I do have my full speech over there from when I was at the protest in Richmond, Virginia, and then I'm also going to be uploading some other stuff over there on Patreon from behind the scenes on my trip in Richmond, Virginia. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael Ray and Ray Ray. If you've not checked out my YouTube video from posted yesterday in Richmond, Virginia, make sure you check that out. Also, I do have a new t-shirt on my Shopify. Where is that? And so make sure y'all copy out one of those. I have the anti-status tee over there. And all right, y'all. Thank y'all. Everybody have a good night. Thank y'all so much to everybody also that's super chatted during this time. And hopefully we'll be getting together later this week to talk about some of the other things that's going to be happening at the convention. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Bye.